Hi, Scott from Digital Fish with content that catches. This was the last day of action from our fishing trip to Doubtless Bay. We were launching again out of Matai Bay and heading for a rock that would hopefully hold some fish. The plan was to focus on targeting kingfish, so we had the jigging, topwater and live bait gear with us in the boat. This semi-submerged reef had good schools of fish congregating around it, and it looked like the sort of place a kingfish would hang out, given there was so much food present. Jigging around the schools on the bottom was the first approach, and while Jody searched the bottom, I threw a stickbait around the krilling KAHAWAI and Trevally to see if something with yellow fins was lurking with intent. This way we were covering the possible hiding places and hopefully doubling our chances of hooking up. Despite all the right ingredients, we had just one bump on the jig, so headed north to Cape Karikari where we found more schools of fish. We hooked up on a jig beside this school of Trevally and were fairly certain we had a rat kingfish on the line. It had yellow fins alright, but it wasn't a kingfish. It was actually a solid Trevally that had attacked the 250 gram knife jig. This fella was coming home for some fresh sashimi with garlic, ginger and soy. Back to searching for kingfish, and I was casting into the wash around this island. Kingfish will sometimes hunt in the wash to ambush unsuspecting fish. Again, it was quiet on the kingfish front, so plan B was to troll some lures around the island to pick up a KAHAWAI and then slow troll it as a bait for kingfish. The swell was so calm it looked like you could land on Marlin Rock, a rock stack with a deep fishy looking water very close by. After 20 to 30 minutes of trolling, I spotted a shark fin, which probably belonged to a small mako. The next plan was to anchor and try to catch a KAHAWAI with bait. We noticed a lot of these organisms in the water. They looked like huge clouds of fish eggs floating around in big rafts, catching on our lines and hooks. We were fishing pilchards for KAHAWAI and I had a big take on my first drift. The first run had power but not the dashing panic of a big snapper, so I guessed we had hooked the small shark I'd spotted earlier. I was using 10 kilo line and a 15 kilo leader, so predicted it would bite through the line pretty quickly if it was a shark. It was swimming high and low in the water column and I was hoping to get a glimpse up close, but not too close in an inflatable boat. 5 minutes of fun ended with a slack line and sure enough it had been bitten off. More bait fishing, and this time a decent snapper grabbed my pilchard and headed straight down for the bottom. It gets annoying when a big snapper grabs your bait when you're trying to catch a KAHAWAI. It sounds ironic as it's often KAHAWAI that steal your bait before a snapper can find it when stray lighting. We were on the hunt for kingfish, and since the snapper fishing had been superb the last few days and we had stacks of fish in the fridge already, we were thinking about letting it go to breed and help build the snapper stocks. We'd been catching snapper over 10 pounds every day. It had just been one of those epic holidays. 14 pound, 25 pound, 12 pound, and now this fish, which I think would have weighed about 12-13 pounds. It was in fat condition, and if we kept targeting snapper, I'm sure there would have been lots more like this specimen. I was going to try and skip a dead flying fish behind the boat. Kingfish love them, although they probably swim best under the water with a weighted chin strap. We had Rapala CD14s for KAHAWAI and a CD18 for a kingfish and a flying fish. If we didn't hook something, it certainly wouldn't be for lack of trying. Hypothetically, I was pretty sure if we towed our gear from Cape Karikari back to Matai Bay, surely we'd come across some of our yellow-tailed friends somewhere along the way. Ironically, we'd seen a school of rat kingfish under our boat the day before in 4 meters of water after launching out of Matai Bay, but of course we were looking for the big boys. Sadly, nothing bothered our lures, but that wasn't the end of the day. We had an evening fish planned off Tokerau Beach with our wives who had come up to join us on our fishing trip. We were on bait and fish landing duty to give our partners a chance to catch some fish. A gentle breeze pushed us along, and so we tied on the soft baits and Faye caught the first snapper. The fishing was a bit slow, so we went back to bait and burley and started to get more consistent action. The fish were a bit on the small side, but we knew they would get bigger as the sun started to go down. The snapper size slowly increased, with nice eating fish taking a liking to the tuna belly baits we were using. The tuna belly is a top catch specialty bait and a strong scent, as well as being quite firm and staying on the hook longer than a pilchard. The wind was dying, the sun was sinking. It was a magic time to be out on the water and drift along on the ocean. Fishing is not a spectator sport, but the surroundings can certainly make you want to spectate sometimes. Anna and Faye were having a ball and catching all the fish. Jodie and I were busy baiting and unhooking the fish and hoping to score brownie points for future fishing trips. It's certainly the time snapper become more active as the light fades. Anna hooked a bigger snapper and did a good job of carefully playing it to the boat. I was under strict instructions not to loose the fish, but make sure I got it in the net as soon as possible. This was her best snapper. I could see she was already running through recipes in her mind about how she's going to cook it. It was a prime fish and finished off a prime day of fishing. The day was at an end, the moon was starting to rise, and this was the end of an extremely successful fishing trip. We're so lucky to have this beautiful country called Aotearoa. This is Scott from Digital Fish with content that catches.